Hello, friends. Hello, family. I wanted to just reach out to thank everybody who's been reacting and commenting and sharing my video, my plea to the Jamaican and international community. I really didn't expect such an overwhelming response. And it's so meaningful. All the folks who have reached out, those who have said that the post resonated with them. Thank you. Thank you so much for reaching out and for sharing. Continue to share. If you found the message to be helpful and meaningful, then share it. Share it so that others can be blessed, so that others can hear it. I thought I'd do a follow-up because I know that I implored people who might not have financial resources and who have a skill to volunteer their time and effort. And I've been racking my brain to see how I myself can practice what I've put out there. And I thought, all right, Tamara, maybe you can do another video that will provide some tips. And I was talking to my friend Bridget Barrett yesterday about, all right, how can we mobilize? How can I, who is not there, use my skills of organization to help to mobilize? And she shared some things with me, and she shared that she's worried about the vulnerable people and the continuity of life in the communities. And then I thought maybe I should share some information on diabetes care if we're thinking about the vulnerable in the community and just dropping food and water. There might be some need for some emergency care. And where there is no electricity, she asked me a question about insulin, and I thought that I'd answer that and then provide some more tips for the diabetics. I'm going to keep coming on here and sharing information. I think I'll also bring Bridget herself on, who is a community development expert and who is going out in the communities. And she says that it's really, really, really bad. If you're not mentally strong, even if you're mentally strong, it will do something to your heart. So I was moved to share something about diabetes and about insulin. Insulin, if in the absence of refrigeration, which is prominent right now because people don't have electricity, then insulin can be stored at room temperature for up to 28 days. While you should store it in the refrigerator, if it's unopened, when you open it, you can store it at room temperature for up to 28 days. You shouldn't freeze it because it won't work again. Again, room temperature for a short period, up to 28 days, and keep it, check the expiry date. So that's it on insulin. For folks who are on insulin, who might not have refrigeration or cooling systems to store your insulin, it's safe for 28 days, which is roughly 4 weeks, a month. So your insulin can be kept at room temperature. Don't put it near to direct heat. Don't put it in the sunlight. It can be kept at room temperature for those who need insulin. Diabetics now, it's important because if you get a wound, it might take a long time to heal. In conditions like this, you might be prone to urinary tract infections, get infection that can go to kidneys and so on. So I want to share some tips that are helpful for diabetics. It will be important to monitor your blood sugar. If people have blood sugar devices, I'll talk about that first. And if you don't, then I'll share some information on how you can still monitor it without devices. So for those who are thinking of giving, you might need to stock up on glucometers or glucose meters or glucose reading machines that don't use electricity. So with that, backup supplies of batteries will be important. And for those with diabetes who don't have glucose meters, it will be important for you to be aware of the symptoms of high or low blood sugar and how you can manage them. If you don't have access to electricity or batteries or even glucose meters, many people might not have access to glucose meters. So you will want to be vigilant about recognizing the symptoms of high or low blood sugar, which can be for high blood sugar, excessive thirst, frequent urination; for low blood sugar, fatigue, confusion, dizziness, fainting spells, tingling in your extremities, your arms, your legs. Just pay attention, be vigilant to your symptoms. If you can log your symptoms, I don't know if you have paper, can write it down, or have the children chant them. I don't know, whatever you can do in this time, and identify any food that you eat. This will help to manage your glucose or your sugar levels without a glucose meter or without a medic or an aid at hand. So I'm sharing tips with us that can be helpful in situations like a hurricane or the aftermath of a hurricane, where there's no electricity and no proper supplies and no proper medical attention. Managing your blood sugar is important again, folks. You have to listen to your body. So like I said, pay attention to how you feel. If you experience symptoms of low blood sugar, such as dizziness, confusion, or shaking, try to find any food source, even if it's not the type of food that you should eat, because any amount of sugar, if it's available, it can help to bring back your glucose levels to normalcy. I know that in this time, people are just depending on the food that they can get to eat. And so monitoring the blood sugar or maintaining it at ideal levels can be difficult. So if you do get food that you haven't prepared yourself, or food that you're used to having, try to avoid the sugary items, the sweet biscuits and so on, that can cause a spike in your blood sugar, focusing on non-perishable items that you can find. And so those who are donating, I'm going to ask that we put together, if we can, packages for diabetic folks. And the focus will be on non-perishable food items that are low in sugar and high in fiber. So you can think of canned beans, whole grain crackers, oats, and dried legumes, seeds. So any seeds or nuts, sunflower seeds, cashew nuts, those things are also high in fiber. We have to be careful though with how we eat these things. So we have to eat them in moderation. These can provide sustained energy without causing rapid spikes in the blood sugar. It's when the blood sugar spikes and drops rapidly that people tend to be in trouble. So we want to pay attention to those. Think of putting together food kits for diabetic people. And folks, in this situation, we want to reserve water and hydration supplies for this vulnerable population, the diabetics. So access to clean drinking water is essential for diabetics. Staying hydrated will help to maintain the overall health and can also help in the management of the blood sugar levels. If nobody brings you water, if you don't have any water, if you don't have bottled water, if it's safe to do so, collect the rainwater. If you have access to any source of water, prioritize drinking it. So folks, we have to prioritize our diabetics with the water supply. So if you are around diabetics, give the diabetic the water to drink first. It is crucial. If you're unsure about the safety of water, if you get it from streams, even if it looks clean, if you don't have bleach to drop in there, then you might want to boil it, because boiling gets rid of the bacteria and it also renders parasites inactive. So boil it whenever it's possible. So again, folks, the aid for diabetics includes clean drinking water. We have to make sure that our diabetics are prioritized so that they can maintain hydration. If people fall into a diabetic coma in the conditions In the communities, it's going to be a challenge. So we want to make sure that people have if they don't have the resources, they have the knowledge to be able to take care of themselves. And we want to think about emergency planning. If an emergency should happen to a diabetic, folks, let us create basic emergency kits with whatever resources are available so we can include diabetic medications and instructions on how to use them. So think about it now. Anybody, if folks can't read, then somebody in the community might need to be able to read the instructions so the people can get help. A small supply of food. This is emergency kit. So emergency within an emergency, something that's set aside for our diabetics, with a small supply of food and any other essentials that might be needed, like items for wound care, hydrogen peroxide, cotton, Band-Aid, that if a nurse or healthcare provider is in the community, they can get their hands on. People have scratches and cuts who might be diabetic, so we want to render that aid to those people, that first aid, so they can get the help that they need. Remember now that we're talking about the vulnerable population, the elderly, the diabetic in particular, who might need some concentrated care, some concentrated service, some concentrated supplies to prevent dire emergencies and adverse events. And folks, where there is nothing, mental resilience is important. If we don't have anything, nobody around to give us anything, no supplies, there is power in times of despair in maintaining hopefulness, a hopeful outlook. Jamaicans like to say, better must come, and better ever come. Keep saying that, repeating that. It does something to your cells. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, and a broken spirit dries up the bones. That's real. Maintain hopefulness. I know that it can seem dismal and hopeless in this time, and I can sit here in my house telling you to be hopeful. Where you can find the strength, do. If you don't have the hope for yourself, encourage somebody. Connect with others who face similar challenges, as shared experiences can foster solidarity and emotional support. Now, the shared experiences that we're talking about is not to mope around and talking about you're not getting any help, but gather together and talk about your story of survival, how you were able to come out of the challenge that you're facing, and how Brother Nam and our Brother Sid, how he was able to get shelter in one little corner of his house, and he was able to live. Share the stories of survival and hope, and buoy up each other until help can come, because better must come and better will come. And where you don't have any power, prayer and meditation is important, because the studies show, lots of them, I did some myself, that those who tap into spiritual resources find comfort and strength during difficult times, and coping is increased. So spiritual coping is important. Social connectedness is important, even where people don't have anything. So gather as a community, people. Gather as a community. Help each other. Don't just sit down in your corner thinking about how you are going to make it. Come together, put hands and hearts and forces together, and share the good stories. Again, while the resources might be limited, focusing on survival, community support, and basic needs are always helpful during trying circumstances. People, it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming. I know it is overwhelming. I'm only experiencing it through footage that I'm seeing. And I know that the footage doesn't tell the true story. My aunt who is there said, if you don't see it with your naked eye, you cannot imagine the devastation and the darkness and the terror that is in that place. And I know that we've been focusing on Jamaica, but Brazil faced natural disaster recently, and the Philippines had one storm, and now they're under threat of a bigger storm. So we have to think about the world that's going to be in need of help. And I want to turn again to the insulin, because we're concentrating on diabetics right now. The stability and effectiveness of insulin, how long it can last, will it help? Will it help to lower the blood sugar? It can be sensitive to temperature. So here are a few key points again about unrefrigerated insulin, because we want to make sure that people can get the help that they need, and while they're getting the help that they need, that they are still safe. So unrefrigerated insulin that is not in the fridge. We don't want to freeze insulin, because then that makes it null and void. It won't work again. It will be ineffective. If it's unrefrigerated though, which means at room temperature, it can still be used for a limited time. And in this case, it can remain effective for up to 28 days once it's opened. And it's crucial to check the specific type of insulin for any manufacturer guidelines regarding storage. But most insulin can stay safe and effective when it's opened at room temperature outside of direct sunlight and heat sources. It can stay safe for up to 28 days, which is 4 weeks, which is a month. So if we are packing emergency supplies, we can think about insulin. If we get it to folks in coolers with ice packs, so ice packs and coolers might be something else that we can pack to add to the aid that we're giving out to people. And once it's opened from its refrigerated state, it can remain at room temperature for up to a month. People, sharps are harmful to folks, and needle stick injuries can cause diseases and spread diseases. So we want to make sure that the insulin that we are taking, that we are disposing of the needles properly. If you have a bleach bottle, you can cut off the top or any receptacle, and you can drop the needles in once they have been used, so that they're not scattered to harm people. Okay, because we want to avoid the spread of infections as well. So with every good thing there comes risks, not to scare anybody. So using unrefrigerated insulin, you want to think about if the insulin is stored at temperatures above the recommended levels or exposed to direct sunlight, it can break down very quickly. And so this breakdown can lead to it not working anymore, which might result in inadequate blood sugar control. So the sugar is not being controlled, but any amount of safe, unrefrigerated insulin, even if it's not working to its optimal state, it will work. So we just want to get immediate help to people. The other thing about the insulin is that if it's not properly stored, it can lead to unpredicted blood glucose levels, which can be dangerous. So it can result in episodes of high blood sugar or low blood sugar again. So you might need to pay attention to the symptoms of high blood sugar or low blood sugar. Again, frequent urination, dizziness, fatigue, fainting spells, shaking, right? Tremor. Those are some of the signs. Dehydration comes with diabetes, so we want to prioritize the water for the diabetics. Now, if you want to know if the unrefrigerated insulin is safe to use, inspect it. It should be clear, unless it's a type of insulin that should be cloudy. If it appears cloudy, most insulin is clear. If it appears cloudy, has visible particles in there, little things in there circling round and round, or if there are changes to its color, should be clear and transparent, then don't use it. No matter how bad the sugar is, don't use it. It's better to put a toops of sugar under the tongue if somebody's fainting away and diabetic than to use the insulin that has gone bad. It can cause adverse events. If any nurse or healthcare professional can go to the communities and provide lessons for folks, that would be helpful too. Again, if refrigeration is not possible, we want to try to store the insulin in a cool, dry place, away from direct heat sources and direct sunlight. And for those who are packing resources again, people will need insulated bags or containers to help to maintain the stable temperature of insulin. So consider donating igloos and ice packs that can be frozen and circulated. I don't know how we are going to work on the logistics of that, but one thing I know, necessity is the mother of invention, and these situations breed improvisation and innovation. So again, I'm going to continue to share tips as I'm impressed to share them as they come to mind. I ask that if you found this helpful, even if you don't find it helpful, share it on how you feel like sharing it, and let's get the word out there. Remember, if each one takes care of the person in front of and beside him, every man will be taken care of. Thank you for watching, for sharing, for liking, for commenting, for spreading the word. I am Tamara Richards. God bless you. God keep you. Let's stay strong. Let's let our voices be heard. Let's give help. Let's use our talents, our skills, and abilities to reach the vulnerable. Thank you for all that you will do for the people around the world now who are struggling in times of natural disaster and turmoil. God bless you. Until next time, I'll be back with more tips. Like I said, I'm going to be sharing some information from my friend Bridget Barrett, who is on the ground, who is a community development expert, and we're going to talk more about how we can mobilize and help. Wherever we are, we can help. Each one can reach one. Thank you. Blessings.